Hey, everybody, it's Steve with Real Progressives or Real Progress in Action. I want to talk to you all about this idea of just keeping quiet and shutting up because you don't want anyone to know what's going on with you. We have so many things that are happening in our society today, and not just today, but in general. And we are literally shamed into being silent, shamed into social norms that make us violate every healthy reason to be alive, everything about ourselves. We stuff it, we keep it inside, and we just try to keep up with that appearance, that veneer of everything's okay. There's a saying in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous that the acronym for FINE means fucked up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. And when you think about it and somebody says, "How you doing today?" It's like, I'm fine, fine, right? Nobody wants to be the ones like you go, "Hey, how you doing today, man?" And they go, "Oh man, I'm really feeling like shit, man. I'm really depressed." And the other person's like, "Oh God, what did I do? I just asked them. I opened the door for this ridiculousness." And then they walk away, right? Or they sit there and smile at you. That's tragic, right? But in reality, they're inside gripping, hoping they can get out of that conversation as quickly as they can because they really don't want, they weren't asking how you're doing. It was kind of like, hey, moving on. It's that person that's like, would you like to stay for dinner? But they really are like, please say no, right? Please, God, say no. Don't say yes. So much of what we're doing right now, I mean, a lot of people I know are in real serious, horrible situations. Their finances suck. Their health is in bad shape. Their job is tenuous at best. They're living in a situation where the idea of speaking out or doing anything to shake the cart, to disrupt the norm is very dangerous because they could lose everything. Because the people above them don't really want to hear it. The people at work don't want to hear it. The people in their lives don't want to hear it because they've got their own problems. So it's kind of like, suck it up, buttercup. Oh, we all have problems. Get over it. Right? It's like that get over it mindset. And so before you have a chance to deal with what's really bothering you, you end up already moving on to the next calamity, the next problem. I think to myself, how many people went to college hoping that when they got out on the other side, that they would be set up for life, that they would have their pathway to the future, that they would be able to raise a family, get a nice dog, a picturesque dog that you can post up on Twitter and Instagram and say, see, look at my family. You have the Oshkosh. You have all the nice things that you see on the TV. You have all that stuff, and you're just wishing that that's what your life could be like, that you could not be worried, that you could have money set aside, that you could be stress-free, that you could put your feet up during the holidays instead of being stressed and panicked that you're going to miss a paycheck from taking the holiday because you don't have paid time off, or you're going to get sick and you can't pay your bills and all this stuff. All these things that are unspoken fester inside of us and corrode our soul. And then the people that really are doing well, they want you to be polite. They want you to be polite. They want you to put on airs. They don't want you to be crass and show the pain that you're going through. I put a big tweet thread on Twitter today that's gotten a lot of attention. And I think it spoke to a lot of people who have bought into the American dream and who did all these things. And they took on debt to go to school. They took on debt to buy a house. They took on debt to have a wedding. They took on debt to do whatever it was. They've put away all this money for their kids, hoping someday they'll have a chance at an education. And we always talk about the poor. We always talk about those who are like one just moment away from death. But there's a lot of people out there, a lot of us, especially as we get older, that we've done a few things, but we're in this middle ground where we're got too much going on to be considered desperate by government standards, but we are. And we don't have enough to enter into the hallowed halls of the elite. It's this squishy middle that everybody talks about being such a great place to be. That is really kind of no man's land. It's like purgatory of the earth. You're constantly looking up, hoping that you can join the elite. And you're always looking down, hoping, God, I don't want to be down there. The bottom hates you because they see you as rich because you have more than they do, but you really don't because your debt grew. And all the other tensions that come with that entrapment of trying to be part of the American dream suck you right back into hell. Because all the while you're looking up at the top and you're trying desperately to keep that car going, to keep it in motion, to keep up. And not keeping up with the Joneses even, not just keeping up with the Joneses. But it's all the dismissiveness. You're not worthy of being listened to. You may be talking about the same subject we're talking about on Twitter, but we're not going to even submit to a like on your tweet. Something stupid as that. It's all the in-crowd, out-crowd stuff that you desperately think is important. Not you, not me, maybe all of us. But the point is that when you are trying to make it in this world, whatever the fuck make it means, there's a lot of cost. There's a pay-in cost to be part of the middle class. You got to buy your way into the middle class, and then you've got to carry that debt. Unless, of course, you were gifted that from your parents with the lottery of birth. And there's a lot of people that were born into privilege through the lottery of birth that think because they're sitting on third base that they've hit a triple. And they make it so that you don't have opportunities. They eliminate your chance of opportunities because you're not part of the cool kids club. You're not considered worthy to be part of their inner circle. You're not worthy because you didn't speak a certain way, or you didn't feel a certain way, or maybe you were angry, or maybe you were disappointed, or maybe you were sad. Maybe you got into a fight with the wrong person because that wrong person is connected to someone. And now all of a sudden you're not worthy again. It's all this real life stuff. Forget the online fights. Forget the online bullshit world that's fake. I'm talking about the real world. The real world where you have to earn a living. The real world where you're trying to make ends meet. The real world where you go to bed at night shivering in fear that the axe is going to come down on you tomorrow or tonight. Living your day like a zombie because you're terrified to step out and speak up because you have no energy because your entire life is sucked up in trying to keep up. And not keep up as in be a big cheese. Survive. See, what is not known until you do it is that it's not like you suddenly get wealthier the more you go into this. It's like your debt portfolio expands with you. The vice grips, the chains become tighter. It doesn't afford you freedom. It's a different kind of prison. But it's a prison you're not allowed to talk about because polite society doesn't talk about this stuff, right? polite society, instead of saying, I need to find out if this exists, will say, no, no, no. The ontological, okay? The ontological. That's not blue collar talk. That's not even layperson talk. That's cream of the crop top. That's talk that goes on in academia where it belongs. But amongst the people, amongst the regular people who are literally white knuckling it through the day, the people that are white knuckling it through the day are expected to shut up, speak when spoken to, eyes down. And our society is full of this. We try to pretend like there's no class issues, there's no class barriers, that anybody can succeed in America. Well, I've got 120,000 in student debt to say that's bullshit. Now, I don't know about you, but if you carry $120,000 of house debt, much less student debt, that can really weigh you down. Now, if you've been around for a while and you have house debt on top of student debt, and all the work you had to do to get the student debt probably bought you a divorce somewhere in the mix. So now you got child support. Maybe you got spousal support. The difference between you, now that you've gotten your degrees, and the person at the very bottom is only by degrees. And yet the oligarchs, the plutocrats, the wealthy, the people that don't even think about budgets, they don't have to worry about budgets, because if they think it, they like it, they get it, it's done. They keep the rest of us fighting amongst ourselves. These microaggressions, these thin veneer, these little tiny, tiny gaps between us. The slightest bit of privilege separates us to the point where we can't get anything done. Instead of pulling the bottom up with us, we're constantly trying to keep up top, constantly looking that direction and forgetting the other way. And you could see that in election seasons, when people allow the most unacceptable candidates to be seen as the only alternative. And this pervasive fear of being excommunicated keeps our lips locked. Most people won't speak out. And those people who do, unless, of course, they're part of the club, unless, of course, they're part of the club, they're ignored. They're ignored. You don't have a right to speak unless you're in the club. And if you're angry, clearly something is wrong. Clearly it's on you. Clearly you've got to change something about you. You know, I cannot imagine if we were honestly pulled back and having a non-propagandized conversation, that anyone would tell you whatsoever that this mindset of trying to get more, trying to survive this capitalist society, not even capitalism per se, so much as this race, this chase, this effort to stay ahead of the axe, that kind of precarity, that kind of fear, that kind of instability. Can't imagine anyone saying that that's healthy, that that's going to prolong your life, that's going to make you a better person. The struggle does not create diamonds. This is not where the pressure makes for the best thing. Our bodies are not intended to be under constant stress and fear. But that's what our society is doing to us today. That's exactly what it's doing to us today. And that stress comes out against each other. Talk about be kind. How many of you all live in a household where your wife or your husband didn't get very much sleep the last couple days? Maybe it's because the kids were sick. Maybe it's because they were out of school, like this holiday where the kids stay up late because they don't get enough energy out from school or whatever. And all of a sudden, you're up till 2, 3 in the morning, and then you got to wake up again at 6 a.m. And you do this day in and day out. And you're fighting with each other in the house, tearing after each other, bitter, angry, taking the person that's closest to you and letting it all out. We're supposed to be good little people and fight it out at home, or no domestic violence, no domestic arguments, no nothing. We're supposed to be always smiling, always polite. And then when we leave that dead dog tired without any paid time off, nothing, and we go into society, we're expected to smile and make sure no one's uncomfortable in our presence. We're supposed to smile and not make anyone uncomfortable. But the only way change is going to happen is if we make sure other people know it's okay. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to not be okay. And we need to be able to find a way to not silence people that are suffering, to not create this false positive where we look down our nose and, yeah, something's not quite right with Chauncey. Yeah, what are you, just a little bootlicker? Yeah. We've got to make it so that it's okay to not be okay. Because there's nothing about our society as it's structured today that is okay. There's nothing about it that is okay. From the pandemic to the way work is, to the amount of sheer terror we face in not having family, not having that wealthy support system that keeps us all happy, even if we lose our job, you know? You know, the people that, oh yeah, I lost my job. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. I'm going to take a few months off, think about it. Okay. I could never do that. If I did, I would lose everything. And when I am laid off, I am desperate and begging. And I'm not alone. There's millions of us out there. And you know what sucks? Because the quote unquote left, or the Democrats, which are not left, cater to this wealthied, moneyed class, the Wall Street investor class. You've forced many, many, many working class people, many middle class people even, often to being libertarians and Trumpers and just disaffected people who've checked out altogether. Because there is no safety in that kind of bougie mindset. There is no safety. There is no inclusion. There is no possibility of being okay. You're alienated from yourself, from your own efforts, from your family, from everything. Now, can you imagine if the left would have stormed the Capitol on January 6th last year? Forget the right wing for a minute. Imagine if the left decided they've had enough and they're going to take and do this. It would have been a brutal, brutal shutdown. It would have been a brutal shutdown. And yet, the people who are being disaffected, who are being checked, it's not just the angry white dudes on the right that are being screwed up. the entire middle class and lower class, if you will, the working poor, the unhomed, the unemployed. Many people are feeling this, and it's slowly but surely spreading. Look at student debt. Biden could sign this away in a second. He's not. He's not. You still see people getting arrested for stupid shit. Cities are still financing themselves through the poor in fines, fees, and penalties. Nothing is changing. And speaking out, it only gets you hammered down, because when the nail comes up, there's somebody with a hammer to whack you right back in. In the thread, I talk about how people, in chasing this American dream, are left to realize that all their work, it doesn't matter how smart you are. It doesn't matter how noble your desires are. Most times it matters who you know, who the people in power put their hand on and say, you are our new Messiah. We're going to bless you, young Padawan. We're going to give you an internship with pay over to this school. We're going to take care of you over here. We're going to take you under our wing and teach you that. We're going to take care of you. You don't know anything today. That's okay. We think you're good looking. We think you're young. We think you're charismatic. We're going to bring you in, and we're going to cultivate you into a new face, into the one. But the average person who's slugging it out at regular old state schools, not the elite schools, but the state schools, the JUCOs, the trade school, no. They'll never be in the club. They'll never be in the club. And maybe the club isn't a place anybody would want to be, actually, in the end. But we've been sold this propaganda that if we just do these things, that we'll be in the club. And so we keep our mouths shut. We suffer in silence until someday somebody's reading about us, and not because we've done something great. They're reading about us. And you know where they're reading about us? They're reading about us in the they're reading about us in the obituaries. Here lies so-and-so, survived by Mr. So-and-so. Mrs. So-and-so was found hanging in the garage. Mr. So-and-so, Mrs. So-and-so overdosed on sleeping pills. Mr. So-and-so, Mr. So-and-so was found in the woods behind a tree with a hole in their head. That's what this game leads to. And yet we're supposed to be silent because it's not polite to talk about that. It's not polite to talk about the problems, because if you bitch, who'd listen, right? Bootstraps, baby. Even the people who are anti-bootstraps have a bootstrap mentality. They have all these gating factors, all these entrance criteria. And then what? You're forgotten about, and you're left to die. That's the American dream right now, folks. You've got military recruiters waiting in high schools to pick up the poor, and you've got college recruiters waiting to suck you into private debt so that you can then become a good stooge for corporate America. That's it. There's your choices. Go to the military, go into corporate. Yeah, there's some people, few people out there that make it as individualists. There's a few people out there who make it as small business owners. But even that, the precarity of being a small business owner, even. All this is so unnecessary, right? But we just keep our mouths shut and we keep on doing it. When are we going to say enough's enough? When are we going to make the decision that we've had enough? Hopefully it's soon, because God knows the conditions are right for people to realize that this isn't the way to live. This is no way to live. It's no way to live. Anyway, I'm Steve Grumbine with Real Progressives and Real Progress in Action. Have a great day, everybody. I'm out.